Okay, guys, so before we start, this content is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm nothing here is financial advice, investment, tax, or legal advice. Everything I share is my personal opinion and market analysis. I may be wrong, and markets are risky. Do your own research and make your own decisions based on your own situation. I may hold positions in assets discussed, and those positions can change at any time without notice. So, finishing with this, I'm going to start with my IREN analysis. So, back in June 24th, I did a post saying why there was a high probability of more bearishness to come in IREN. So basically, I started posting this when it was at $55. Right now, if we go to our charts, we already had a big flush down from here when I posted. So we had a 30% drop. And right now, I'm gonna share my thoughts on how I view this. So I drew the first top here, the second top here, the third top here, because this scenario right now happening right now reminds me of this one. Why? Because we had one top. We had the second top, we had the second top. We had the third top here, and now we're having this top setting here. But not only that, I mean, what's interesting is that we went below one time below this bull market support band. The same thing happened here. So one time. We got a second time below, got a second time below, and now after the third time below the band, which is this time around as well, here we got a 54% drop the third time. We got the triple top here, and then we flush below the band 54%. So if we have a similar move, which I think we will, we can still fall to this zone that I highlight here. It would coincide 52%, but not only that, if we go to a daily time frame, we can see this is a gap that hasn't been filled, so it aligns and have perfect confluence. But what more can I see that shows higher probability of eventually reaching this target? I mean, this is not gonna be an overnight move, but it could happen, for example, in the next coming 2 months or 3 months. Who knows, right? So if we go here and we take a look at the volume gap profile, see there's actually not too much volume here. So I don't know if this support's gonna hold, because right now, as we're seeing on the charts, after this big drop, we're in a key Fibonacci zone. We take a measured move from the low to the high. We're in the 786, 886 zone. So we should and we could get a reaction from here, a bullish reaction on the short term, because see, this has been historical support zone. We had this pocket here, we bounce from here, we bounce from here, another bounce, another bounce, another bounce. We kind of pierced here, but we reclaimed, so this could be like a deviation. But because we have bounced a lot of times from this area is getting weaker, right? So I think we could even we could potentially bounce from here, because it's a key Fibonacci zone. After a big drop, we get into this demand zone. So I think my best expectation is we either like slide through and retouch here, or we have a small positive bullish bounce, but then eventually rolling over. And another factor that I'm seeing on IREN, why would I be cautious, right? If we go to a 2 month time frame, let's take this all away. We go to a 2 month time frame. What are we seeing? We're seeing, see, that we have a topping tail candle on the 2 month chart, right? So this is gonna provide a lot of selling pressure. And actually, if you think it through, no, like all of this basically are back holders. And let's not forget, IREN had a 13 13 percentage run in just, let's see, like 210 days, right? So buying here, even if it goes up, even if we make a new all-time high, it doesn't provide a good risk reward, because we could easily retest this level, as I've been mentioning, and that would be a 33% drop to the downside. So I mean, I'm bullish on IREN long term, but I wouldn't enter in this zone. I would wait for price to get to a cheaper valuation before start considering even getting on IREN. So this would be a zone I would be patiently waiting to see if we even hold it, because if not, there's much probability of going even lower prices. So now let's go to Bitcoin. Okay, I see a lot of people bullish on Bitcoin right now, and if we go back to history, I want to explain you what my thoughts are. I was actually bearish all the way here, and I actually tweeted, there's a lot of tweets of me being bearish on Bitcoin and Solana, and why I'm still on the cautious side. So if we take a look at data before we get into support and resistance, from the 2017 high, we had a 83% drop to a low. So from the 2021 high, basically we had a 77% drop to a low. So this clearly shows we have been seeing diminishing returns on Bitcoin, because this drop has been less than the previous drop. Let's do another thing. From the previous high to our next all-time high, basically it took 1,070 days. So from this high to our next all-time high, let's take a measurement from the middle, because some people argue this was the real high of the cycle. So let's do it in the middle. From this point to our next all-time high, basically almost 1,000 days for the next all-time high. So why would I still think there's much more potential downside on Bitcoin, and why I wouldn't even buy here even after a 50% drop? Let's measure the move. Even after a 50% drop, I don't see an amazing risk to reward, because from this high, let's say to 1,000 days, so imagine we would potentially see a new all-time high on Bitcoin until 2028. The best case scenario I'm seeing would be, let's assume from the 2019 to the next all-time high, it took 500 days approximately. So the best case scenario, I would measure, and I would take a measured move to 500 days, put it there, 500 days, and it would be starting 2027 on February, approximately, of course. But I don't think this scenario is going to happen. So let's take a measured move and assume we're going to have diminishing returns. Even if we have a 70% drop, which would be a less percentage drop than the past two cycles, we're still going to get approximately $37,000 Bitcoin, right? And another thing that I'm seeing, and I'm gonna highlight different factors. So if we go to a 1 yearly chart on Bitcoin, so every candle being 1 year, basically you have never had back-to-back red yearly candles in a row. See, you have green, 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 red, green, 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 red, green, green, red. So I think, and my base expectation is, for the first time ever, we're gonna have two red back-to-back yearly candles in a row. Besides that factor, if we go to a weekly chart, every time on the 2018, 2019 bear market and the 2022 bear market, on the weekly chart, let's go to a 200 SMA. See, every time we went below this SMA. See here? and here we went below the SMA. So right now we kind of just bridged the SMA. We're retesting the SMA, but see, every time we went basically 26% or something around that number, like 30% below that SMA. So if this time around we go 30%, see, we go to a similar number like 43 compared to a different number I show you if we get a 70% pullback. So that's something to consider. And now if we go to the monthly chart and we take the 50 SMA, see, the same thing is happening. We go, price have gone below 2 times below the 50 SMA on the monthly chart and below the 200 on the weekly chart. So being that said, um, so let's see where. Okay, before marking the zones, another thing to consider is, see, we had a big consolidation range back in 2024. This basically was a 6 month um, where Bitcoin just chopped, right? So this is a big demand zone, right? But the issue that I'm seeing here is after the drop we had um, in September and October from 125K all the way back to here, see, this zone was acting as support. But the issue that I'm seeing is because a normal reaction, we had a bounce, of course, because of this big support, it was highly unlikely we're just gonna slide through. But the issue is that now we bounce and we're retesting the support, and this bounce make this weaker. So now this is a weak support, and we're not even we're kind of bouncing right now, but I mean, if we cannot reclaim this level, this 66K Bitcoin, or break here, I mean, we're gonna flush down hard because we're gonna have massive amount of back holders. Because actually, if we go to a previous cycle, price on 2022 went below 20% the previous all-time high. See, so we went below 20% below the previous all-time high. If we take a measured move now, and let's say we go 20% below the previous all-time high, it will take us to 52K, right? So we still haven't even gotten to that price, just to add another factor into consideration. And if we in fact get there, all of the people that bought here basically, and here and here, are gonna be underwater. So that's why I expect much lower prices, and I'm not being like just accumulating Bitcoin, because we could easily fall, talking about percentages, 30%, even 38% more. That's realistic. So why would I want to position myself there, knowing that in terms of time to make a potential new all-time high would take a lot of more time? So this buying right now doesn't offer a good risk to reward setup, in my opinion. So I think this zone would eventually be tested. So this is, I want to see how price reacts to this zone, because if we don't hold here, I would even consider lower levels. But right now I'm going level by level. So I expect this not to hold, and eventually we're gonna break to a downside. I want to show something that's why I'm still not convinced. If we take a look here on this bottom, see the volume. We had a high volume capitulation. The same on this 2022 bottom. We have a high volume capitulation, but see, we still haven't had like a higher volume. If we get to this level, for example, I wanna see that for me to begin to get convinced that we're gonna form a bottoming pattern or a quick flush like we had back in 2022, or this type of bottoming pattern. But right now I'm not seeing that. Let's take a look at the RSI right now. So another thing that I found was that here I'm gonna mark this with a vertical line. So when we had the oversold RSI on the weekly chart, so as you guys can see here, this time around, yeah, we found the bottom basically. But this time around, we flushed to the downside, even 46% being oversold, right? So right now, I see something similar potentially happening. Like we're oversold right now, like almost the most oversold we have been on the weekly chart, but we could still go further down because as I'm showing, the same thing happened in the past. So let's say a 37% drop from here could happen, and that would put us in the 38, in the 30s range, you know, something, and then I would reevaluate how price action and sentiment is, for me to decide if I want to start accumulating. So that's it, guys. If you like this content, follow me, and you can follow me on X for more analysis.